Welcome back, motherfuckers. So today is push day. The main focus being chest. I've made some few adjustments going into this session today. I was doing a little bit more pressing than what I needed, so I have cut some exercises and reallocated volume. So we'll go through that a little bit. It's a fairly balanced program between shoulders and chest. My back, glutes, and hamstrings are definitely more of a priority than my chest and shoulders are. So the volume that I'm doing here is pretty minimal, and the rest is being pushed onto those other body parts. So we will be running through that today and show you what that looks like. So before any push day, I like to do some stuff to get my arm into external rotation. External rotation meaning my elbow turning out. So in this position, I'm coming this way. When I go and do all my presses, it is going to cue me to roll forward because my pec internally rotates, subscap internally rotates, front delt internally rotates. So all of those muscles, if they get too strong and we don't work the opposite direction, we can just end up in this slouch hunch position. So I always like to start here, get my shoulder blades set so that when I go to do the rest of my presses, my shoulders feel a lot more comfortable, I feel more stable, I don't have pain afterwards. Just makes me feel better. So again, another movement that is going to load external rotation. So I'm going to tuck my elbow under, keep my elbow high, drive my hand behind my head. So I'm loading that position so that that muscle knows how to coordinate itself and stay stable while I am trying to go through all these different ranges of motion. Plus we just get a little extra arm work, and who doesn't love juicy arms? The thing I see done wrong with these is being straight out to the side. So I'm in a straight line here. That's going to put a lot of pressure on our shoulder, and it's a little bit less stable position. So all I'm going to do to change that, if this is me square, I'm just going to turn. So my torso is now angled this way instead of straight that way. My arm is just slightly in front of my torso. It's just like the same arm path we would do for a lateral raise. It's more stable on the shoulder. It allows it to be more comfortable, and it teaches that shoulder to be in the position we want it to when I go do presses and all the other things that I'm doing today. I've been starting chest days with a lateral for a long time, but I've been having issues really connecting to my pecs. So instead, I've started with a lateral, or a pec fly, good Lord, to go ahead and get a strong contraction to my pec before I go to press. And it's helped change a lot of things. It's helped me feel my pecs a lot more when I go to do presses. And looking at my shoulders versus my pecs, I would say my pecs need a little bit more work. So making sure that I am feeling the movement is very imperative, especially when I'm trying to bring up a weak body part. So doing this gets a little bit of pre-exhaustion work, which will make it to where I can't go as heavy on a press, but I will be able to feel it better when I go to press. So it's a technique you can use sometimes if you need to switch things up. If you're having a hard time connecting to a muscle, getting it to fire and do more work in the other exercises and the harder compounds. Yeah, it's been working good for me. Give it a shot. You'll notice when I sit down, I'm not sitting vertical. I'm slouched forward with a neutral spine, bringing my arm across. So this slight decline angle to my arm lines up a bit better with how the pec runs. So it goes from small here at the insertion of the shoulder out to the other end. So it fans out this way, down this direction across. So it lines up better with with the pec by sitting here. If I'm a little bit more upright, I get a lot of shoulder pressure and a lot of bicep tension. So by just shifting forward, I get rid of a lot of those pain issues. Helps my chest feel a hell of a lot better. Especially as people get like more tired when they're executing on a fly, you'll start to see them towards the end. It'll turn from this into this. They're pushing knuckles together, hugging the air really aggressively. If my arm starts here and slowly drifts this way over time, I'm taking tension away from the pec because I'm shortening the distance between where the load is and the joint that is moving, right? So I'm shortening it and bringing it in. So this, you ending up here is because you are weak here. Now, the other issue is this is not contracting my pec. This coming across is. So I'm thinking about pushing my pecs together with my biceps. So I'm lifting my chest with my biceps. I'm pushing them across, trying to touch my biceps together. Obviously, stuff gets in the way and I can't do that, but that is the intent of what I'm trying to do to shorten my pecs. Not aggressively hugging the air. While I want to pre-exhaust the muscle, I don't tend to take this movement super close to failure because I still want to save some energy for the more compound stuff that's really going to pay off in the long run. So the idea here is trying to get a really gnarly pump, squeeze that chest. I'm getting close to, like, the reps are starting to slow down, so I am getting close to failure, but I'm not all out going crazy trying to push this fly like I would any other compound. I found that when I do try to push those sets into that realm, especially on something like this, I end up getting more bicep pain than I do like chest work. So this is more, again, just for activation purposes, not really taking myself super far to failure. As I mentioned, I've made some adjustments to the push day. So I was doing pec deck, incline Smith, flat plate loaded press, and then a shoulder press. But by the time I got to the shoulder press, trying to continue to press was just not going well. So between this and the flat press, I was getting more out of the Smith, and I need more upper chest, so I want to be on an incline for it. So I figured, let's cut out the flat press, take the volume I was doing there and spread it around to the other chest movements. So for now, I'm just doing incline press here, then into shoulder press after, and typically I would do 2 sets here. It's going to go up to 3 sets today. And then from there, I may climb volume depending on response. But that's the biggest shift here, is reducing how much pressure or how much pressing I'm doing, how many different presses I'm doing, and taking that volume, putting it into things that I know work really well for me and are moving me towards the things I need to bring up. I take plenty of warm-ups with chest. Like I said just a little bit ago, I've been having a harder time connecting with it without having shoulder issues. So by slowly incrementing, taking extra warm-ups, I'm able to make the connection that I need to be able to make really good progress. So I typically take a little bit longer with my chest pressing than I do anything else. Thank you, sir. Ooh, damn. Oh, thanks, bro.
Really fit.
Felt really good. Strength is definitely up.
Yeah.
So I was talking to a client the other day, and he was telling me that his Instagram that he wants to put fitness stuff out on, he wasn't really sure what he wanted to put out or what to put out, right? I told him it doesn't have to be you going on there and telling people how to live, how to lift, or how to eat. You don't have to go on there and act like you are the one that knows everything. You don't have to go on there with the desire to teach somebody. The best thing you can do is show somebody your experience. So before I ever even started doing the content that I am now, where I'm speaking about exercise execution, speaking about nutrition, speaking about coaching and helping people with their fitness, I was just showing my training videos. I would show people, look, this is what I squatted today. This is what I rode today. And just talk through those things. Talk to people about your prep. Talk to people what you're doing cardio-wise, training-wise. Like, just tell them your experience. That's more than enough to begin with. So don't feel like just because you have a fitness account that you need to go on there and command authority as far as giving people information to be better. You don't have to do that. Go in there and just share your experience, and that's it. You don't have to immediately be an expert. I spent most of the time on my Instagram just showing people what I was doing, period. And then it built on top of itself where I started to dive deeper into the rest of the things. So take your time with these things, gain experience, knowledge, learn from everyone you can, share your journey, and then when you come to a point where you have a pretty solid knowledge, if that's what you want to do, you can transition into more informative videos and helping people with their fitness. But don't put the cart before the horse and have zero muscle or zero credibility and then want to go on the internet telling people how they should train. Build the credibility, the rest will come. I got it. Ooh, thank you, sir. I've been doing 2 sets per exercise for a very long time. So running 2 top sets back to back there was definitely a different experience. And it's going to take me some time to really be able to push things. So if I had to assume, my back off going higher rep is probably going to take a little bit of a hit. but over time my body will catch back up. So just got to get used to this style again, or this amount of volume on one exercise. But once my body adapts, it'll be perfectly fine. So I used the same weight on my first set as I did the week before, got more reps. I kept the weight the same for the second set, got a little bit lower rep set. So I got 7 plus 1. The bottom end of my rep range is 8, so I'm right at the bottom end. Now I'm dropping down pretty significantly, trying to go up in reps, 12 to 15. Last time I did this back off set, I think I got 13 or 14, but that was after only one top set. So probably gonna take a little bit of a hit here, but I'm gonna keep the weight the same because I bet in the following week, it's gonna jump back up. So, let's see. Last time I actually did 12 plus 2, and here I just got 13 on my own. So the plus 2 means that somebody helped me with the last 2 reps. This time I got 13 on my own. So while I technically got 14 reps last time, 2 of them were assisted. So they don't really count as far as what I consider effective reps. So I actually increased a little bit over last week. So kind of the opposite of what I expected. All done with chest. Well, yeah, all done with chest, no more chest exercises. Moving on to the shoulder press. I am loading the pegs here because my shoulders already been shortened. I've already done a lot of pressing, so it's going to be a little bit more tired. So by loading this way, I can reduce how much load I have to hold overhead. So there will be a slight reduction as I press overhead with loading the top pin. Allows me to take the sets just a little bit further, push myself a little bit further into those reps that are really going to help us move forward. So that is the purpose of the peg loading here. For a long time, I've been incorporating a little bit higher rep ranges. So on my top sets, I write down 8 to 12. My back off sets will be 12 to 15. So it's been a long time since I've really focused on hitting like 8 to 10 reps on things. But during this time where I'm starting to push up before we go into prep in May, that's what my plan is kind of drift a little bit lower, work on some of those heavier weights with control to get a new stimulus. So you can stay in the 8 to 12 rep range for a long time. I'm always focused on hitting 12 in that rep range, but just by shifting the focus a little bit and going 8 to 10, we can potentially get a little bit more progress out of it by using a heavier weight. As long as you are stimulating the muscle appropriately, going heavier is not necessarily a problem. It's a matter of locking in the form, making sure that you are using the intended muscle to move the weight, and then translating that to heavier and heavier loads over time. So I'm going to be making a little bit more aggressive jumps as I go through this, focus on 8 to 10 instead of my usual focus on 10 to 12. Ooh. That was heavy. So with that being said, my focus shifting in how many reps I'm gonna do. Typically on my second set, I would drop the weight, go higher rep. Instead, I got 11 there, so I know on the next set, I'll comfortably get anywhere from 6 to 8. 6, not necessarily ideal for what I'm going for goal-wise, but if I can get 7, 8, 9, somewhere in that ballpark, definitely more of what I'm looking for. But I know with time, doing the exercise orders, the same amount of sets, all that kind of stuff, I'm going to be able to handle more here with time. So instead of my typical back off, if you guys have watched my content before, I'm going to keep load the same, and the back off will be a little bit lower rep set, closer to that 8 rep range. Ooh. I said 6 to 8, I got 9. It's like I know what I'm doing. I brought this push session down to the bare minimum as far as what is going to help build my chest and my shoulders. What do I mean by that? I did a fly and a chest press, and then I did a shoulder press. I'm going to do a lateral now. My shoulder can go in all sorts of different directions, but if we do 2 or 3 different types of laterals, it's still the same movement. If I do a lateral here, then I gotta do a lateral on a machine, then I do a lateral on a cable or with a dumbbell, I'm not necessarily doing anything different and getting a different stimulus. It is just a different way of loading the shoulder, doing the same motion. So if I needed to do more lateral movements, I would just put more sets here instead of adding another lateral movement on it. So a fly for chest, a press for chest, a press for shoulders, a fly for shoulders. Then the very last thing I'm going to do is load external rotation. Y'all saw that at the beginning with my warm-up, just to get everything set. But now I want to actually drive some output in that external rotation to further set my mobility there. But it's also a great way to train the shoulder in a movement that it doesn't normally do. So it's a whole nother ball game as far as stimulus for the full shoulder versus just a lateral or a front raise or whatever. And front raises is not something you'll ever really see me do. We already get so much stimulus from, even if I just did incline presses, that's a lot of front delt. So my front delts and most people's front delts are more dominant than their side or rear delts. And that's where they get that, they look big from the front, then they turn to the side and the shoulders like slump down because they don't have side or rear delts. They've put all their money into building the front delts, and this position can cause some pinching and pain in the shoulder. So I don't typically do like a front raise pattern. I know a lot of people like those. If they work well for you, by all means, go for it. Oh. Ooh. Fuck. I've had a lot of people ask why I don't grab the handles here. So you'll see most of the time when people get into this, they'll grab the handle here and then they're doing the movement in this bent arm position. The reason I don't do that is simply where my upper arm is sitting. So my humerus, if I am turned out to grab that, my elbow is pointed out. So it's, well, pointed behind me. I'm here, it's pointed that way. So when I get to the top, I am in external rotation. So if I'm cueing this position, rolling out, now my front delt starts to take a lot of the movement. So instead, I put my arm straight, and then I'm actually turning my elbow out into the pad. So it's very simple. Instead of it being here, straight out to the side, I'm turning in and then driving out through that elbow. That turn of the upper arm puts my side delt on top and puts it in the most advantageous position to move this bar, instead of allowing my front delt to take over and compensate in that bent arm position. Deep burn. So this is a new one I've been playing around with. You saw me do the face pull at the beginning as a warm-up. By putting myself on a bench, I can output a little bit harder here because I don't have to worry about my torso. I can just focus on the rotation. Proper setup here. Find a comfortable incline. It doesn't need to be all the way forward, shouldn't be all the way down. Play around with it on like what part of the shoulder you're trying to hit and what incline works best for you. There's no right or wrong here. Now, when I get set up and I have the cable, and I'm putting the cable in the position I want, when I'm down here, I want it about at my chest height. So this is more like forehead. This is a little too high. So when I'm down here, I want it to I want the angle of the cable coming straight at my face. So I'm gonna drop that down too. And now that cable is a little bit more straight. Then from here, I'm gonna pull to my face and rotate back. If you look at the pattern, it's a lot like an upright row. So if I was standing up, going here and pulling this way, it is an upright row. We're just changing the brace and where the load is moving from. So this is in straight line versus an upright row is typically from low pulling up this way. This for me doesn't cause any issues in my AC joint, where an upright row can sometimes piss things off up here. So with this, I'm able to get a comfortable position, get that rotation out of my shoulder, which we haven't done on any other movements here. And that external rotation can really load rear delts, side delts, and even a little bit of front delts. So this is a great way to finish off a session, get a crazy pump in the shoulders, get the fuck out. That's it for push day. Chest and shoulders done. As always, like, subscribe, comment, share with your friends, tell your mom about it. I'll see you next time.